There is at least one in every family. They're called caregivers, people who are empathetic, patient, and kind. It takes all those traits and more to care for loved ones, especially in need, and especially with those with dementia. But how can a person who cares for elders be empathetic when they've never experienced old age in its most fragile state? The answer is in our next story.
His name is J. Will Chesney. First name is just J. period. He was born in Strawberry Plains, Tennessee. Grew up there. Had a clan of Chesneys. He had about 12 brothers and sisters. He was about in the middle. He was a carpenter. He started being a carpenter at 15 years old. And that was his connection with meaningful life.
A life that included 5 years of active duty in the U.S. Navy.
He met Roosevelt. Roosevelt shook his hand and said, "You're going to be a wonderful chief petty officer." And he was just like 22 years old. Dad went up the ranks and became a chief petty officer. And that time of life was so difficult for him, the war. Like most people who go into war don't want to talk about it, but Dad had so many vivid memories that in his latter days, that's what he spoke about so often. My kids were very, very understanding, hearing the same war stories over and over again. When he got out of the service, out of the Navy, he had a very heavy overcoat, very brand new overcoat. He was a chief petty officer. And in the wintertime at the old home place, a man was walking from Knoxville to Sevierville on the road. And he stopped and Dad called him in, stranger. And Mom and Dad fed him and let him warm himself by the fire. And then my dad gave him his new coat. Actually gave his coat off his back. That's my dad.
Approaching his 80s, J. Will went to live with his youngest son, who turned his garage into a woodwork shop.
When he was about 80, 81, he would cut pieces of wood, but he wouldn't know what to do with the piece after he got it cut, so he lost his ability to know the sequence of how to put things together. And it just frustrated him his whole life. From 15 years old to 80 years old, and then it's turned off.
He literally went from being full of primary color, to just being kind of gray.
As his dementia worsened, J. Will moved to Atlanta. As loving caregivers, the Chesneys stood by their patriarch, but never truly understood all he was coping with. Until now.
Welcome to the Virtual Dementia Tour Individual Edition, or VDTI.
Lamar Chesney and his wife Kim are about to take a journey.
Inside your kit you will find a spiral-bound laminated booklet with before and after flaps. Open only the before flap. Please circle your response to the following questions. Do you feel you understand the emotional needs of people with dementia?
Armed with special shoe inserts, gloves, and goggles, the Chesneys will see, feel, and hear what a dementia patient experiences.
You all right?
I am now.
It's hard, isn't it?
P.K. Bevel, the creator of the Virtual Dementia Tour, helps Lamar make sense of it all.
So, and then your before and after, look at that. To the questions, do you feel you understand the emotional needs? At first you did.
I thought I did.
I know you
because
did.
I had my dad. I thought I did.
Yeah.
For Lamar, certain parts of the tour spoke louder than others.
Especially on the shoes, the pain. My dad walked that way, and as I was moving around in the kitchen, I vicariously put myself back in my father's shoes, so to speak. And I now recognize why it was so hard for him.
You ready, babe?
Yes.
All right.
Now it's Kim Chesney's turn.
Well, technically, I was very curious to how it was all put together. And I was really excited about seeing, for my own personal comfort, what my father-in-law was going through.
Just a few seconds into the VDT, Kim can go no further.
Oh, good God. It was really hard to hear the phone going off and the alarms going off and all the different voices that were going off, and knowing that there were instructions I was supposed to be following and not being sure when they were going to come. And what causes the pain from?
Peripheral neuropathy and that feeling of pins and needles in their feet.
So that's the shuffle that we see.
That's right, the shuffling thing. And we do see as people begin to progress through this whole disease process that they quit wearing their shoes. They don't want to wear their shoes. And the sounds in the background are specifically designed so that you can't weed out very well relevant versus irrelevant stimuli, which is why you see them kind of do part of something like the third task.
Yeah. Now I know why he was angry sometimes. He wasn't angry at me, he was just angry at all the situation.
We were very kind and loving to him, very understanding, but I think I could have gone even an extra mile for him had I understood the difficulties.
And what would Lamar Chesney say to his dad, who passed away last year?
I don't think you would say, I know how you feel. Because there's so much that goes into a person's feeling. I think I would say, I better appreciate what you go through.